There are 4 main risks to consider when porting. The first one is criteria risk. The second is circumstantial risk. The third is property risk. And the fourth is prisoner risk, property risk. Now, this is where the lender refuses the property type, or the refuses to lend on that particular property. Why? Well, there might be a number of reasons. The example that I have dealt with recently was a couple wanting to buy a new build property. There wasn't anything weird and wonderful about the new build property, but what happened was that the lender had simply reached their exposure limit. So the exposure limit for a lender is where for one particular site, they're saying they only want to lend for, say, 30% of the properties on that whole development. So because they'd reached that exposure limit, they weren't able to port their mortgage with that lender. Prisoner risk. Now this is where actually you've had a successful port. The lender has allowed you to port your mortgage over, and because it's a bigger property, you've taken some extra borrowing. Now they won't give you that extra borrowing at the interest rate that you currently have. They will make you pick another deal from their current offering. Now, let's say you had 3 years left on the end of your 5-year fixed rate, and that particular lender didn't have a 3-year fixed. They only had a 2-year fixed or a 5-year fixed. In this scenario, you're kind of trapped with that lender because of the gap between the ending of the 2 deals. You might not be able to afford to let one part of your mortgage drop onto standard variable rate while it sort of catches up with the end date of the other part of your mortgage. And therefore you're forced into taking another fixed rate, and then you've still got that big gap between the 2 end dates. So this is where you become a prisoner. So for all of those reasons, porting should be seen as a last resort and not a plan. And you should always, if there's any chance of that you might want to move house in the next few years, don't tie yourself in for longer than necessary. Only take a short-term deal like a 2 or a 3-year fixed. If you have any questions or you want to talk through a particular scenario, then give me a call.